Hello everyone. So it's Chantel again, and just as a recap, my placement is at the Wiley Center in Riverside, working with children, youth, and families. I got in the list really quick. And this week I'm going to do the mandatory child abuse and adult protective service reporting. As a quick disclaimer, Wiley Center doesn't actually work with very many adults, and especially the elderly population. We don't work with any elderly population. We focus more on children and I guess more like young families. We provide services to mothers with postpartum depression, but that's about the extent of families. It's mostly children. And occasionally we'll do we'll get families, since we do therapy with children, occasionally we'll get families that are being raised by their grandparents, and we'll work with like a group session with those caregivers and sometimes their grandparents. But usually I'd say we don't work with like an elderly population, so we really don't have very many elderly abuse reporting laws. This is kind of going to be almost like a recap of one of my videos from last semester, because I talked about a training we did last semester, and in that training including a child abuse section. So Wiley Center's policies are, if you suspect abuse, if you suspect it, you don't have to investigate further. You report it to the supervisor, which would be the mental health assistant director, and then from there you fill out the form together, and then you call CPS. In the state of California, you have 24 hours to make the report to CPS, and then they investigate further. It's really not our job to investigate. It's their job to investigate. We just have to report. We also, I wish I had it with me, but we had this really cool chart that talked about the difference in what we have to report as far as relationships, where how old can each person be. So can they be 12, dating 18, can they be 14, dating 16, and kind of like what we have to report and what age range. They gave us that at the training, and I left it in the office. And so we have to report any signs of abuse or neglect that we may see or that we may believe to be apparent. We don't have to actually see bruises if a client tells us, mommy's hitting me and like it's hurting me or something. We can discuss that a little bit further, but we don't actually have to see the bruises in order to report it. And I think that was one of the main points we talked about in our training, is you don't have to investigate. You don't have to further try and go to the house and figure out what's going on there. You just call CPS and they investigate. There was a lot of questions about that at the training from other departments, not from mental health, but from other departments. Okay, well, what does this look like? Is this considered abuse? Like, do we report this? Do we report that? So it was just like a quick overview of what California expects and just some of the laws on child abuse. I think one of my biggest challenges is with my foster kids. If there's abuse, what does that look like? Because foster kids, they're not always very open about what happens if they're not very comfortable with you. So that makes it difficult to determine if there is abuse going on in the home. And then from there, where are they going to be placed? Because sometimes foster kids have a difficult time staying in placement. And I know at work that's one of our struggles with our kids that we work with, because we work with at-risk kids. What happens now when they go to the next foster home? Because every time you move a kid from placement to placement, they experience a little more trauma each time, and it makes it difficult for them to resettle in their new location. So just, I think definitely the most important part is consulting with your supervisor and talking about it, and then actually filling out the report, and then you have to follow up with the report to make sure it was made. Those are really crucial and really key. So So again, we had a training on it, so this is really like a review video. Sorry for everyone that's watched it already, but I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.